Bow wow 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 wow. Bow wow 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 wow. Wow 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 wow. What's up? So today we got Arrow Season 1, Episode 1 Pilot. So I know you guys might be thinking, Beckham review. You've already done this show. This show is an Arrowverse show. And obviously, it's a show for your Arrowverse channel. Which I'm gonna say, hold up, guys. What I'm gonna say here is that totally it is from my Arrowverse channel. But obviously, Arrowverse channel is currently on Season 8 of The Flash. So, until we get on Season 8 of The Flash, we'll be doing Season 1 of Arrow on here. We'll be doing the Arrowverse on here, on every show. So, background reviews will be tackling the Arrowverse, from its crossovers to its, thing. So, yeah, so this episode starts off with some guy, running on an island, and he's like, we hear his narration, and he's like, you get the gist. He's like, you get the gist. He's like, it's the on you, Mandarin, for purgatory, and he's been stuck there for 5 years, waiting to return home. He's not the boy that was shipwrecked, but the man that will bring justice to his city. His name is Oliver Queen. Bam, 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 bam. Arrow, yeah, love the show. So yeah, so then we see some woman show up, and she's talking with some doctor, and the doctor's like, yeah, there's like some scar tissue all over him, some burns or something, and she's like, and the woman's like, hey, is anything like what happened to him? And he's like, no. So the woman walks in, you realize Oliver turns around, and it's his mom. So yeah, so he goes to the Luther Mansion. Yeah, he goes to the stock footage of the Luther Mansion, which is his mansion, but it's also Lex's mansion, a bunch of other mansions in the X-Men franchise. So basically, they've used this mansion interior before, but it's a whole different set when you go inside. And yeah, so we meet Walter Steele, Oliver's dad's person at his company, and then she's like, then something, like, then some, like, something, like, we hear a door knock or whatever, and she's like, did you hear that? Like, Moira. Yeah, her name's Moira, I'm just gonna call her Moira. Mrs. Queen. How was he able not to hear that? Of course he would hear that. He's inside your house. If he was outside, makes sense. But he's inside your house. How's he gonna not hear his sister? Yeah, his sister, Thea, come in, like, walk out and see him. Like, how does he not hear that? So, yeah. So, we also meet Reza, the maid, and she's like, and she speaks in a Russian accent, and she's like, yeah, a guy named Mr. Merlin's about to show up. It's set for dinner, and yeah, so he and Thea and Oliver hug, and yeah, Thea and Oliver hug, and she's like, she knew it, she knew he was alive, and yeah, so then Oliver's just looking up some old family photos, but that's when Mr. Merlin, aka Tommy Merlin, shows up, and he basically, is like stuff about, but island, but shipwrecks, they suck, and he starts mentioning about Lost, and about how all the people were dead, and I know that's maybe a Lost spoiler. Tommy's kind of spoiling Lost for you guys if you haven't seen that show like me. So Tommy, stop spoiling Lost. So yeah, so he's like, hey, we're gonna throw you a party and we're gonna take you in. And yeah, so he speaks Russian, and for some reason, Walter over here is like, hey, I didn't know you took Russian in college, Oliver. Like, you knew he was. Did you not know he was on island for 5 years, dude? And then Oliver makes the side remark saying, I didn't know you were sleeping with my mom, Walter. Like, thrown already. And yeah, why would this dude think he got his college degree? Like, went to learn Russian college? Like, this dude is a party boy. This dude is a playboy. He's rich. I guess dude's like, this Walter guy doesn't know anything about the Queen family because, he was the dad, he was Oliver's dad, CFO or something, but he wouldn't know anything about the Queen family, but he's married to Oliver's mom. So when Oliver's mom, wait, I'm always reading my pillow. Yeah, I always have a pillow when I'm doing these reviews. When Oliver's mom know this stuff, like, come on. Like, come on. Like, wouldn't Oliver's mom be able to tell this guy, like, hey? So, yeah, so they're like, hey, let's have, like, a night, let's have a night in town. So, yeah, so then we meet Laurel Land. And she's talking, she and her friend are talking about Adam Hunt and how he's like army of lawyers, and they're going and they're going to attack this dude, and they're like, and yeah, and they're like, and Laurel's like, you and her against the army, she likes those odds, but then she sits down when she starts hearing about Oliver's Island time. And that's when she learns about Oliver being back off, obviously. Of course she was gonna find out. She learns about Oliver being back. And she's like, and then the newscaster's like, hey, Sarah Lynn, it took the life of Sarah Lynn. The Queen's Gambit thinking took the life of Sarah Lynn, saved by her sister Laurel, and the Laurel turns off the TV, and everyone's looking like, we were watching that, Laurel. Like they just look at her like Laurel just doesn't have a. Sorry, guys, she says those people at CNI, I think that's what it's called, are just looking at her like, yeah, she turned that up for TV, but we're not gonna do anything like tell her to turn it back on or anything. But that's when. So yeah, so Tommy and Oliver, riding in the car, and Tommy's like, hey, what'd you miss about being on that? What'd you miss while you're on an island? But Oliver's like, he missed Laurel, and Tommy's like, hey, we are all glad you're back, but you really want to see the really person that isn't glad you're back? So while that was happening, Oliver shows up, and he's like, hi, Laurel. And, she basically just said, he's like, Adam Hunt, that's a heavy hitter. And she's like, really? You've been gone for like 5 years, dude, and you want to talk about Adam Hunt? And yeah. Yeah. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, sorry. And she's like, like they had to bury an empty coffin. And she's like, that's what, like, she couldn't be grieved. She couldn't sad. That's what happened when her sister dies while sleeping with her boyfriend. And she basically she wished Oliver died. Kind of dark. She wished Oliver died on the island. So, yeah. So Tommy and Oliver are hanging out again when they're attacked by people in creepy skull masks. Basically, taser Oliver until he tells what he wants. They're like, hey, did your father get with you on that island? I'm sorry. They're like, hey, did your father get with you on that island? He's like, what'd he tell you, Mr. Queen? He's like, he told me he told Oliver he's gonna kill him. Yeah, yeah. So he's like, are you gonna do that? Your zip cuffed in a chair, and he's like, am I? And basically kicks the butts out of these guys, kicks their asses, kicks their butts, or whatever it's called. But he kicks them, and he basically just awakens Tommy before, and he just like jumps over with cool jumping scenes, cool probably those things that make you jump, tied onto his act, tying Stephen Amell, and basically, he's like, no one can know his secret, and basically just kill that one guy. So Oliver basically makes it up that some guy in a green hood saves them, and Quinn, the detective there is like, hey, what'd you see, dude? And he's like, Tommy's like, I was out for the entire time. So you're saying that that a guy in green hood take out 5 armed kidnappers, which basically Oliver, he wasn't in green hood, but yeah. So Moira introduces Oliver to John Diggle. John Diggle. Yeah, John Diggle. And so he meets Diggle. I'm gonna call him Diggle. He meets Diggle, and he's like, hey, Diggle's good. Dig if you want. But anyway, I'm gonna keep calling him Diggle because it's awesome. So, yeah, so he basically just, he basically starts, talking with him so he can, ditch him. He somehow jumps out of the car and goes to his father's factory where he, busts in on Adam Hunt and wears green hood and says, dude, you're gonna, wire, $1 million. But, yeah, so Oliver has a party where Diggle drives Oliver to the party where they play. Also, Thea does drugs, which is kind of bad. She and her friend do drugs, which I forgot to mention. But yeah, so they, jump. So yeah, so they, Oliver's like, so Tommy's like, hey, you should date the girl that looks like that girl from Twilight. And Oliver's like, what's Twilight? And he's like, you're better off not knowing. Yeah, he basically said that. So Laurel shows up. And she's like, hey, how did Sarah die? And all the flashbacks is him seeing Sarah die, which is kind of dark, but yeah. So he's like, hey, Laurel, he's saying Adam Hunt doesn't wire the $1 million, and he's like, hey, Laurel, you should just stay away from me. And now he's gonna lie to Butcher to get, what did he say? I forget. Something as he walks away. But so he goes in. Even though Adam Hunt has those big guys, he's able to beat all of them before being knocked out. But as the police show up, Oliver's able to get up, and Quentin and yeah, so he goes to the club. He goes to the place where all the party, and it's like, hey, Adam Hunt. And Oliver has to play dumb, who's Adam Hunt? And he's like, he's a $1 million bottom feeder. I'm surprised you two aren't friends. Yeah. He's like, I'm trying to have a party here. And he's like, hey, did you try to save her? Did he try to save his daughter, Sarah? Yeah. So, and then the guy next to him tries to say, hey, this is what Sarah would have wanted. So, yeah, so Oliver basically tells Tommy to, keep his mouth shut or something. I forget what he says. And Tommy's kind of like saying, bro, what happened to you on the island? And stuff. So, yeah. So then we see that Oliver was able to wire the $1 million from Adam Hunt. And then he flashbacks to when his father was on the boat and his father shot the guy. Was like, hey, you need to survive, Oliver. You need to right his wrongs. And basically just shot the guy next to him and shot himself in the head. Wow, what a real dark way to start. So yeah. So then Laurel says, hey, you should call on someone, tell them they should never talk about whatever time about ever. And yeah. And then Tommy shows up because he and Laurel are like a thing now, I think. And he's like, I think he and Laurel are a thing now. I have no idea. But he and Laurel are some sort of hashtag Larlin? I have no idea what to call him. Lami? I have no idea. Yeah, Tommy and Laurel. Just gonna call them. Tommy and Laurel are together. And she's like, hey, there's none of them. And he's like, they've gone to his place, her place, his place again. And yeah, and she's like, I gotta get back to work. And he's like, Diane Laurel Lane, always trying to save the world. And she's like, if she doesn't save it, who will? Because she's kind of right. If she doesn't save the world, who will? So then Oliver is suited up in his hood outfit and watches her leave. That is creepy. And then we get another flashback to him on the island. And then we get a flashback to a guy talking to Oliver's mom. Boom, Oliver's mom. Revealing that he was the one that sent those guys to kidnap Oliver. And she sent some more, and she's like, there are some other ways of finding out what her son knows. Dun, dun, arrow. And that's basically the pilot. Pretty good. Pretty good first episode of the show. More coming. There's more coming. It's not just a review the pilot and done the show. More coming. More shows. Like, we're gonna do Arrow, then we're gonna do The Flash, then we're gonna do Supergirl, then we're gonna do Legends, then we're gonna do Batwoman, then we're gonna do Stargirl, then we're gonna do Superman and Lois. What else? I think that's it. We're gonna do all the shows. Like, we're gonna be doing it in order. In order, everybody. In order. So I'll see you next time for another Arrow.